Hi guys, it's Katya here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today's video is gonna be all about pon, specifically LECHUZA pon. So this has kind of been a hot topic in the plant community right now, and I see a lot of people jumping into the pon, which is all good, but I'm a bit skeptical with these things because first of all, I don't think there's a lot of people who have used this a long term, because similarly happened with LECA. Everyone was so hyped about it, but majority of people stopped using it because it caused a lot of problems and it just wasn't efficient for them. So first I'm gonna actually tell you what is pon. So LECHUZA pon is actually a mix of volcanic rocks such as pumice, zeolite and others. They have a lot of pores in their structure, and this means that they can easily absorb excess water and fertilizer and release it to the plant when it needs it. So this is one of the key features that they point out at the LECHUZA side. Okay, so other benefits to the pon is that it has a perfect air to water ratio. So we have 54% of air and 55% of water. This is supposed to work really well with the plants that we're growing. It is reusable. Again, it is inorganic material. It won't get degraded, it won't break down, it will always be there. You can just wash it and sterilize it and you're good to go. So the site mentions that the pon has perfect pH balance, and I'm a bit skeptical on that point because aeroids, at least the ones that I grow, really enjoy acidic soil, and they're used to growing in acidic soil, and we're talking about pH level from 5, generally around 5.5 to 6. On the LECHUZA side, they state that it is suitable for growing plants such as citrus trees, cactus, your houseplants, and etc. They even mentioned tomatoes. So here I have a bit of concern because the ideal pH level for tomatoes is 6 to 6.8, whereas for citrus trees is from 6 to 7, and that differs a lot from the original 5 to 6 pH level that I mentioned for the aeroids. So I'm not sure how exactly can they achieve that unless there is some sort of puffers in there, but I don't know. I wish there was a certain number that you could refer to, but I'll have to look into that. Another key point that I mentioned is that it's a balanced nutrient distribution. As I mentioned, it is highly porous material. Ooh, the sun came out. Pores can actually absorb all the excess fertilizer and release it to the plant when it needs it. So there's a less possibility for you to burn the plant, but you can still burn it. It is also supposed to absorb all the odors, and it's also supposed to prevent fungus gnats. I'm not sure about that because I had fungus gnats in perlite and they were thriving even though the media didn't have any organic materials. The plant itself did, and they did manifest them on the plant. So question mark on that. And there's also a point that they mention is the macro and micronutrients will stay there forever. They will remain permanently, and no, they won't. They cannot. It's physically impossible for a plant to be using micro and micronutrients, and the pon just doesn't have an endless supply. I don't think how you can supply that. It's just everything will eventually run out. Fact, nothing is infinitive. Another thing that my friend pointed out is if you're using any sort of organic fertilizers, it will stink. This is just natural. So if you have any organic substances and you put them in water, microbes will find their way and they will manifest and they will form biofilms, and it will stink. It will get disgusting, especially if you have a water reservoir and you don't clean it often. It turns out not to be so efficient after all. So you'll have to find a different fertilizer regime because the pon is actually a bit different than soil. I feel like it's between soil and hydro, so it is semi-hydro type of thingy. And a lot of fertilizers are either meant for soil or hydroponics. There is a few of them that fit into semi-hydro category, and they're usually the chemical ones. The chances of you burning your plant are higher, but it will not stink. Again, depends what you want. Do you want to go all natural and bio, or do you want to have a non-stink plant but you can burn it? Who knows? So this is the Alocasia maharani that I have converted. And another thing with pon is, again, I don't have any experience with it. I've only tried it just so I can see what is all the fuss about, and I do wish to give a proper opinion about it because I feel like everyone is just glorifying it whereas there are problems. I spoke with people and they had several problems with pon, so it's not all golden as people say, so I'm here to actually reevaluate everything for myself. So now I will show the process of how I did it. So now we're gonna transfer our alocasia. So the first step is you'll have to get the plant out of the pot and remove as much soil as possible. To get the plant out, it's recommended that you squeeze the corners and then you kind of just grab the plant at the base and pull it out. Then you will want to carefully remove as much soil as you can with your fingers. Be sure that you're gentle because especially acacias, they tend to have very fine roots and you will most likely break some. So the thing with pon is it is recommended to remove as much soil as possible. However, it is not needed to remove as much soil as it is for leca because stuff in leca tends to rot more easily, apparently, from what people say. I don't have any experience in it. So with leca you have to be extra careful and really dig in and remove all the soil because it could potentially cause rot. Here I had a problem with mine because it was grown in one of those small plug pots and it has really grown into that pot, and when I repotted it I couldn't remove the soil. I couldn't remove it even now, and this is what we're left with. So our next step is I soaked the roots in water. This way I clean them even further and you can see the healthy roots that you have. And then we're gonna pot it up. First you're gonna get yourself a bag of pon, open it up. Here you can see the final result and you can see the plug pot that I was talking about. I just couldn't remove the soil there and it's staying. Hopefully she's gonna be fine. Then you should take your cache pot. You can see it has strings attached to it and this is where the capillary action happens with pon. Then you'll want to put around a quarter or like a third of pon at the bottom. I kind of put a little bit too little and I wish to put a little more, but it's fine. I think the plant is going to be just fine. You can see how much I filled it up. And then the next step is to put the plant in. You'll want to distribute the roots throughout the pot evenly, so this way the plant can grow itself into the media and stabilize it so it can hold its form. Then you kind of just put the pon in. There is no specific method really. I try to get it under all of those roots and still be careful because since it is lava rocks, they can damage the roots, so try to not be too harsh. I tap it in between just so I get some of just so the pon goes to the empty air pockets. This way it can fully submerge itself with the roots. And then you kind of just get all the pon inside. So one bag of pon was actually a bit too little for this pot because you can see it is filled up to a good 2/3, a little bit more. However, I would like it to be filled just a bit more. I prefer it to be a bit higher just because this way any new roots that come from the stem have easier time actually growing back into the medium. So I've had a spare bag of pon, thankfully, otherwise I'd have to vibe with it, but I added a little bit on the top and it turns out it's different pon because it doesn't have the blue rocks, but it's just white and brown, but I think it's gonna do just fine. This is the end result. Our next step is to flush it because we do want to get all the dirt out of the pot. But yeah, I think she looks pretty good. She seems stabilized and you can see the roots through the pot, which is very nice. So as I mentioned earlier, the next step is to flush. The pond comes with a lot of dirt in it and it is recommended to keep flushing as long as there is dirt coming out. And then when it stops, you know you're good to go, and then you just kind of fill up the reservoir and you're done. I will keep you guys posted on it. If not here on YouTube, I will post it on Instagram for sure. I hope you found this video useful. So if you have anything that you wish to discuss, anything you wish to ask, feel free to comment down below and give this video a like if you enjoyed. And I guess I will see you next time. Bye!